Well, a big day for General Motors and the Volt. GM CEO Dan Akerson joining us now from the Hamtramck plant in Michigan. Dan, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, talk to us about the Volt rolling off the assembly line, the first one today, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And in terms of the job news, how many jobs will you be adding in Michigan as a result of this, all focused around the Volt?
This will be the center, if you will, of our manufacturing while we ramp up our first real effort in the electric car arena. Over the next 2 years, in order to do the research and development and the required engineering as the Volt goes to the next generation, we'll be hiring approximately 1,000 people over the next 2 years here in Hamtramck in the Detroit area.
Are we going to see more hiring on a mass scale from you guys?
Well, I don't know if I would say on a mass scale. We're going to match our hiring with the demand that we see in the marketplace. And we're already seeing in various models and makes around the country the new Cruise. We're looking at adding a third shift down in Ohio. And right now, here in Hamtramck, as we start to roll out the Volt, the extended range electric vehicle, they'll be hiring here as well.
You know, Dan, one of the big questions over the past 2 years talking about the Volt is the price. We know the price tag, $41,000. That is a pretty high price tag for the average American. What demand are you expecting given the pricing on the Volt?
Well, right now, I don't know if you'd call it demand, but we've had indications of interest to purchase the car in excess of $100,000. Now, what falls through when the car eventually hits the market, that's another thing. But when we look at the price tag with the $7,500 tax credit, it's very competitive. And as we go through each generation of development, we hope to take cost out at the same time keeping quality at par or increasing.
Well, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but even at this price, GM doesn't expect to make money, at least on the first generation Volt, right?
It's close, but it's marginal right now. But again, we have a lot of startup costs, a lot of promotion costs, advertising costs, and we load all of that into our calculation on profitability.
It seems like so much focus for General Motors now that we've gotten through the IPO is on the Volt. It has been for the past 2 years. But when you look at your other vehicles, the Chevy Cruze, for example, that is a car that many analysts would argue is of the utmost importance for General Motors' success. Is that what you would say as well, that the Volt may be innovative, but the Cruze is really where the focus needs to be in terms of selling on a mass scale?
There's no question the Volt is a creative, new technologies that have been introduced, but in mass, it's not going to happen in the first year or two. We hope to have it up to 100,000 over the next 2 or 3 years on an annual production here in the United States. The Cruze, which is a great car, we're probably going to produce 250,000 of those in the United States this year. And if demand continues as briskly as it has been in the initial phases, we may even have to pick that up. So there's no question, in the intermediate to near term, combustion engines will be more dominating than electrification of the car. But the future is with the electrification of the car.
Looking ahead, outside of the Volt at GM's lineup, Dan, first of all, how focused are you on the redesign of big trucks and SUVs? I know there's been a lot of focus in accelerating that. And also, are we going to see just pure hybrids from you guys and more of a focus on that, as well as this part electric with the Volt and pure electric, which we're also working on?
Well, obviously, we have a wide range of models that cover demands for different jobs. I would say for cars, for consumer use, you'll see some electrification, some form, either a hybrid electric vehicle, a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, an extended range, or as you suggest, a car like the Leaf, a battery electric vehicle, all battery.
Dan, are Americans always going to want their big cars and trucks, their big SUVs?
Well, they might, but there are government regulations over the next 10, 15, 20 years that are going to, we're going to have lighter vehicles, more efficient engines. And I do think electrical assist will play a role. We're also pushing forward on compressed natural gas engines. We're also pushing forward on hydrogen fuel cells. So this is going to be a very interesting, somewhat technology-driven industry over the next 10 to 15, 20 years.